Facebook. Sorry, Facebook. Starting. Hi, Instagram. Hi, Twitter. Oh, and then I got to hit that one. Okay. So we're live on YouTube. We're live. Oh, ooh. There. I think Facebook is live now. Okay, I think we're good.
We're good.
I think we're good. And why don't you welcome everyone? And I am supposed to be tagging Miss Kristen in on this one.
Hey,
so
everybody.
That she can come in.
This is Margie Fink from Transfiguring Adoption, and this is the wonderful
Darren Fink.
We are working on getting set up here.
Why don't you tell everyone, ask everyone about their week.
How's everybody's week?
Oh, we got sound on yours. That's great. Let's see. Sorry, guys. We're trying to get everyone started up here. Hey, everyone watching. All right, let me see if I can get Kristen. Oh, it doesn't want to tag Kristen. That's weird. Kristen. All right. So I hope everyone's doing really good. We have had a great week. Has everyone else's week been good? Anyone done anything exciting of late?
We took a load down to our new soon-to-be home.
Well, tell people that don't know about that.
Okay, so anybody that doesn't know, the Finks are moving to Florida towards the end of May, but our house here is closing in the next couple weeks, and so we took our first load down. So we did a lot of overnight, through the night driving over the weekend. So if we look tired, it's because we are.
You look wonderful. You look wonderful. Okay. I think that's as good as I can do. So hi, everyone. Glad that you could join us. My name is Darren Fink, and this is Margie Fink with Transfiguring Adoption. We are here every Monday to do a live caregiver check-in. This is merely just so that as caregivers, so we can check in with each other, just see how everyone's doing, share advice, give tips, ask questions, and just go out there and do another bang-up job helping foster and adoptive kiddos. So that's what we're here for. So all that fun small print stuff at the bottom of the page. We are not legal advice. We are not medical advice. Yada yada yada. We're not telling you to go against anything your agency or caseworker might be telling you. In the end, we're just trying to. Everyone that's joining in here and talking is just trying to help each other out. And please don't sue us. So that's that. So I hope everyone's doing really good. Like, what did everyone do this weekend? Everyone's got the Easter. If you celebrated Easter, or spring is here. Like, how is the weather? I know we asked this last time, but the weather hasn't gotten any better across the nation. It seems like in the U.S. anyways, if you're watching us in the U.S., like the weather's still bonkers. Like it's still like going chaotic and crazy.
Moody.
It is moody. So like Margie was saying, we are moving down to close next month down there. But yeah, it was really crazy because we went from one state to another, and it was just the temperature difference was nuts. It was just really crazy. But I hope everyone's doing really good. We are going to be talking here pretty soon about teenagers, fostering and adopting teenagers. And this was something that we had to cut the show short last time because we had obligations we had to get to.
Because it was my birthday.
It was her birthday. She doesn't even look a year older. She's like getting younger. So she, yeah, we had to cut the show short last time, which she wanted to go out for sushi. How was the sushi?
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
And it was half price, which makes it doubly good.
Does anyone else like sushi out there? Maybe not. Maybe you do. Love to hear. What is your favorite, if as a foster adoptive parent, if you could have one place that you could go to, like that your family's like, I want to take you out to here, and this is going to be just the thing. Like, what is that place that you want to go to? Like, where would you want to go to eat? For Margie, it would be sushi. It would be sushi all day long. Mm-hmm. So last week, though, people were asking if we could go ahead and talk about fostering and adopting teenagers. And we were like, yes, that's an awesome topic. Let's talk about that. Let's do the thing. So we're going to talk about that today. As always, we don't have to talk about that. If you don't want to talk about it, we can change topic. But this is a place, again, for you to talk about, ask your questions, to share suggestions that you have for foster care and adoption, or a place for you to learn about what foster and adoptive parents are going through so you can better support them. So please share your questions and share your advice. But we are going to start it off with talking about fostering and adopting teens. So if you're watching this live, I would love to know if you have any teenagers in the house. Like, how many teens do you have in the house right now? We have 3 teens and 1 preteen right now, and it's an interesting place to be. There are a lot of positives, and there are a lot of challenges that go with that age range. So yeah, I'd love to hear how many people that are watching this actually have teenagers in their home. And like, what are the ages and stuff like that? It's interesting. Like, a lot of people, I think, are really hesitant about doing fostering and adopting teens. Like, I don't know. Why do you think that is? Why are people hesitant to foster or adopt a teenager?
Well, I think in general, teenagers are going through a lot of development. Teenagers, sometimes people struggle with their own birth children in that age range. And so I think people a lot of times are intimidated. So.
Yeah. And I think because of the media, I think that there's a lot of times people like give the horror stories on the news, like of people burning houses down and stuff, or stealing or killing, or like you always hear that story. It seems like someone comes up to me and says that they heard a story about someone that was killed by their foster child or something. Like, so then I think people in the general populace have this idea that teenagers are going to rob you blind. They're going to sleep over you with like a knife to your throat and all this, like, set fire to your hair while you like, or you know, like just this like crazy stuff that I guess.
But there are a lot of pros with teens, because teens can do a lot of things for themselves. They can have conversations. They're old enough to process and really be able to talk through stuff that they're going through. So it can be a fun age to be with as well.
You know, I was on, yeah, and I'd love, as we're talking about this, again, share if you have teenagers in your home, and I would love to hear from other parents, like, what do you think about fostering or adopting teens? Like, what are the pros? What are the pros that you see? What are the challenges? One thing that I was on, what was that show? It's not PBS. Is it PBS? Like on not NPR. Was it NPR? It was public radio anyways. I was on public radio and we were talking about this topic came up, and we were talking, and I said, I think it's actually more, it's neat for fostering teens because the situations are more real to them, where not that it's not real to younger kids, but the teenagers understand more, and they understand where they came from, what the situation was, why they had to, they understand it. Like, you can reason with them a little bit better to tell, not that they like it or it makes it easier, but they understand why they were taken from their home. They understand why it might be good for them. Yes, I love Kristen. Kristen says teens can lift heavy things when you grocery shop. This is a big positive.
And sometimes they can reach high items too. Hashtag short mom. I am also a short mom, and I love now that my teens are able to go to the grocery store with me, because I inevitably want something that's on the top shelf. And because we have 4 that are teen and preteen, I tend to stock up. And if it's on the top shelf, I maybe can get the first one, maybe. But if I've got another teen with me, I can like say, hey, give me 3 of those up there from the top shelf. So that's awesome. We had awesome. A comment.
Tim was saying that he has a 17-year-old bio, 17 full guardian, 16 full guardianship, 15 full, wow, you have a house full, 14 foster, all boys. Wow. So is there anywhere in your house that doesn't have a hole in the wall? Because we just have 3, and I'm like, that we just told, like, since we are moving, like we have to shop for home insurance, right? So the home insurance, like the agent, like was talking with us, and I was saying, what did I say? I said something basically to the effect, I'm like, and you should be, he said, wow, you have 4 kids, you should get a medal. And I'm like, no, 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 no. In your case, the house is still standing. We have 4 kids and it appraised well. That is a miracle.
No, we never had a claim.
Yeah, and we never had a claim. So you should be like so impressed with us. Like yeah. So
Kristen said the 16-year-old can drive to the store alone and bring home milk. She's living the dream. Tim said, I'm so glad we're not the only one with holes.
No, I think the best holes happen in the walls.
Holes happen even if you don't have a teenager.
They do.
It just happens.
Like sometimes you just are going into the kids' bathroom to clean up after it, and you're like, "Hey, there's a hole in the wall. Where did that come from?"
Okay, but I can rat you out because you've actually put a hole in a wall before.
But I know how to repair it.
Playing with the teen.
But I know how to repair it. Then, is the thing. So yeah, I don't even remember what we were talking about with teens. So I think there's a lot of
the challenges can be, and what
I think there's a lot of stigma though there, but I think there's a lot of, I think for the teens, it's more real for them. Like they need that love and they need that stability even more because they understand, like, especially if they're getting close to aging out, like reality is about ready to hit them in the face as they go out the door.
That also, let's see, Kristen said holes happen. Jaden recently broke the TV. And then Tim said, we also have 2 in their 20s, a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old boys. Wow, you have lots of boys then. We have 3 and 1 girl. She recently discovered that she enjoys being the only girl because we had a couple girl placements and she decided that all those years of asking for sisters were not.
I think I'm sorry, it just popped in my head, but I think one of the biggest challenges too that I think parents have is the whole independence thing, is that teenagers have a lot of, they can potentially do a lot more than a little kid. Like, and I remember thinking that, like, we had smaller children in the house, and, you know, when you have a 5-year-old, you can potentially like put up gates or like, well, maybe younger than that, but you can potentially set up an area where you cannot go outside this area and this is the safe zone and you will be in here. Or you can say, they're like, I want to go do this. And you're like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. And you pack them up in the van and they don't have a choice. They got to go. And they don't put up a fight because they're like, they're 4 and they're like, what am I going to do? I can't. But like as teenagers, they can put up more of a, I don't want to go do that. That's not my thing.
Well,
I
they
want to
have
do
more
this.
life experience. So they're more used to like set in their ways. Like they have certain ways that they've been doing something in their birth home or for a previous foster or a previous adoptive home, or not, hopefully not previous adoptive home, but previous homes. So that can cause it's harder to kind of set boundaries if they've kind of been outside of those boundaries. Kristen said teens definitely voice their opinions. Yes.
Well, what does everyone do?
I was going to say one of the challenges that I've personally found a lot with teens is that kids who've been through trauma tend to be, experientially, they're kind of ahead of the curve. They've had experiences that even a lot of adults haven't had. But in terms of development or emotions, a lot of times there's a little bit of a delay. And so we know with kids who've been through trauma, if you've got, an 8-year-old, maybe they're just behaviors that younger children would have. And so you kind of have to lower the bar and have lower expectations and help them out. But with a teen who's getting closer to aging out or being an adult, there's kind of this added pressure of, you kind of have to meet them where they're at developmentally, but you feel this pressure of we've got to help them to understand these skills to be an adult. So that can be really challenging, I've found. Having those expectations, understanding that they're not developmentally necessarily their chronological age, but yet needing them to meet certain milestones can be difficult and challenging.
So Tim's saying on Facebook, there's some downsides to having teens. Our 14-year-old foster recently insisted on going to court when they terminated parental rights. Parents didn't bother to show up. It devastated him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, I've heard a lot of people, we haven't had that situation, but I've heard on IEPs too, with the individualized education plan, I've heard people say as kids are getting older, like they they want to swing their weight around a little bit and show their independence. So they show up and they start making choices, and the adults kind of, I guess we figure we have everything figured out. And usually we have their best interest, and they don't have the experience to see what we're doing. And then they show up to the IEP and they totally change everything because they just want to show the adults that they can have a little power and swing their weight around a little bit. I've heard those stories. We haven't had that one, luckily. Like our kids have so far trusted us in the IEPs, and even if they want to be present during it, they pretty much let us do all the talking. Like even when we're like, so do you understand that? Do you have any questions? Do you want to go? They're like, just you talk. Okay.
Kristen said every teen placement I have had did have a previous adoptive home.
That's rough.
It's very rough. We've had kiddos that were in care after having failed adoptions.
But how do you guys how do you find that you deal with that balance of having to give them some independence? Because I know social media is a big one too, and that was one thing that we experienced recently with foster care. Hey, to Smile Happy. Yeah, and just so everyone knows, we're on multiple social media things. So you might hear us like talking to someone that you don't see down in your chat window because it's on another social media. But how do you deal with weighing that independence? Because I know the last placement we had, it was definitely difficult with the whole social media aspect. Like they were like, you're not ready for social media. And we wanted to put like, okay, here, we'll go into social media, but here's how it's going to happen. And the kiddos just like not having it. But at the same time, they do have to learn how to use technology because they're going to be using technology to be successful. They have to use technology for the rest of their lives because our society is so dependent on it. Your guy did awesome job at IEP meetings. I made him do a training first. That's awesome. I think IEPs you almost need to have. Whoa, we were getting tons of hearts. I'm loving that. Thank you so much.
Well, we had a kiddo who actually was going into sophomore year, and there had been this crazy transition where freshman year started out in one town, one district, and got moved to another district. And somehow in that process, they lost the fact that the child had an IEP. And so the entire freshman year didn't get any services and didn't get anything, as far as special education resources. Right. And so left freshman year with like 1 credit, and it was devastating. But the child didn't know, like the child had never really been involved in IEPs to the point where the child didn't know that there even was an IEP and didn't know that there were supposed to be these services. So having a child go through training and helping them understand the IEP process so that they can advocate for themselves is huge.
Kristen's saying social media, she thinks, is the hard part of teens. I think it is, because I think there's a lot. It's like with anything though, like, right? Do you guys feel that way? Like with social media, it has this great potential and this great power, but it also has this great negative aspect too. So, and our kids have that hard part where they want to be liked by everyone. And so, I'm just not even sure. I mean, we even just recently, I don't even know if I can share this, but we recently had one of our kids that has a smartphone for the first time. They're paying for it. Like they have a job, and we said, that's kind of the rule in our house, that if you're going to have something like a smartphone, you have to have a job and you have to pay for it. And this kiddo is also going to be graduating and leaving the home soon. So it's something we wanted. We're like, yeah, they need to get this, and this needs to happen because we got to give them training wheels for it, right? Like before they're out on their own. And the social media aspect totally falling flat on their face. Like you're just like, there were moments where like, you do realize that future employers are going to see this, right? Like you already have problems at your job, like meeting your boss's expectations. And then when they look at your social media, they're going to be like, huh, interesting. So I think it's just interesting. I think you have to.
And I think with all kids, they're trying to try out social media, and they don't necessarily understand all the implications of what they post. But then with children who are in care, then you have the added some of the risks. Not every birth family is safe in terms of having that social media connection. we personally have had great experiences having connections with birth family on social media, but with other families, that's not always the case. So,
yeah, what do you guys find with social media? Do you guys, like, how do you handle social media? What do you do, like, with that? Like, I feel like that is a touchy topic because, again, that's something that we need for our kids to be successful in life, because so many businesses are reliant. I mean, there's so many places that even do. Kristen's gonna be back. Her baby puked on her.
Baby puked on her.
Mother things happen.
Baby puke happens.
Hashtag baby puke happens. Ooh, that could be a t-shirt. Hashtag baby puke happens. But I feel like in order for our kids to be successful, like they've got to be able to use social media, but at the same time, there are kids and you don't want them to totally get burned.
Well, we've had the experience where having a teen who was not supposed to have birth family contact, and was on social media, and birth families on social media, that creates some real issues.
Yeah, and Tim's saying that they have to monitor the social media. The kids don't like it because they come from super bad backgrounds, but they have to monitor it for their safety. And I think that's so true. And I think that's just part of, like, we call it adult training wheels, just because, I mean, that's essentially what it is. Like, you're giving them training wheels for adulthood. And you want them to fail, like, right? Am I right? Like, you want them to fail in your house while you can still help them and do something to repair the damage, rather than have them like roll and burn out on their own and you're not there and no one else is, and no one cares. Like, because I mean, I don't want to say no one cares in the real world, but no one's going to stop like you're going to stop and help them repair the damage out in the real world. So, yeah, social media is a rough one. I would love to know anything that people do, because that's actually something we deal with all the time, is with social media, where our kids our kiddos that are adopted have they don't have social media. We actually have, our one kiddo that just got the smartphone, has the ability to have Facebook, has not done Facebook with us yet, but has the ability to have Facebook. I think after the failures that this kiddo had on social media, I think they kind of have taken a step back and not wanting to go at it right now. So, yeah, social media really needs to be different for each kid, is what Kristen said. I agree with that. I think it's a case-by-case basis. Has anyone ever used the Disney, is it called the Cube, or is it the Square?
It's the Cube.
Is it the Cube? Has anyone ever used the Disney Cube? I've heard a lot of foster and adoptive homes talking about using the Disney Cube, saying that that's really helped them to monitor internet time. I think you can do TV time on it too, or even just like tablets, and you can cut stuff off. Okay, so you have one kiddo that's managing, Krista has one kiddo that's managing primarily on her own. And yeah, I guess that's true, because even with our kids, I think you have those kids that are really responsible, and they're gonna, if they flub up, they're gonna run and tell you. And yeah, I think that's true. I think it's
not even just games. Like, we've discovered that, you have to be really careful what apps they have, or, the games. I think I just said that all wrong. Yeah. So it's not just social media, but if they have apps, they have games that they're playing online or on their phones or tablets. Picture and video capabilities, that also gets complicated.
Yeah, and Kristen's talking about one of her kiddos obsesses over it and spends hours and hours scrolling. Yeah, and I think that can be kind of scary too, right? Like, especially if someone is trying to cyberbully them or something like that, then they hold it way too much in. It becomes an obsession that becomes their identity. And here's the other thing too is, even kiddos that we've had as placements, they don't know how to have real friendships and talk to people in the real world. And then you're throwing them to the social media gig where people really we say we're friending them.
Social media that they never would say to a person's face.
And we're saying we're friending people, and there's oh yeah, they're my friend. And you're like, no, they're not. They're not your friend. You don't know them. You don't know them. You know their cyber persona. So like, I don't know, like, how do you help your kids get in touch with reality? Like, what are things that you guys do with your teens to help them to socially get ready to become adults? Because I think that's a big fear for like some people taking on kids, is they're almost aging out. Like they are, if they're in foster care, they are nearing the end of the journey.
And Kristen said, my cyber persona is nothing like who I really am. That's scary. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think this is the real world. Yeah, and it's, again, I think it's, but it goes back, I'll say again, it's this huge important, I mean, even with Transfiguring Adoption here, I will say that we, through Twitter and different places, we've met personalities that have helped, like we've met celebrities or people that we normally wouldn't get to talk to, that have helped us be able to help more families that we never would have talked to normally. But they're so accessible on social media, but there's no way we could we could never find their house or their phone number or whatever to talk to them. So, I mean, I think it is a useful tool, and they do need to learn how to use it, but definitely they need to learn how to talk to people. Like, before you can talk to the person on social media about helping out your nonprofit or your business, you need to know like the social rules of engagement so that you can properly talk to them and not be so awkward, maybe. Oh, wow. Yeah, awkwardness. Actually, what is the one thing that what was the one class that we were gonna utilize? Is that only for smaller kids, or is that could teens take that too, for like social interaction?
They didn't have a class for teens. They kind of had up through, there's a place in Knoxville it's actually geared towards kids with autism, but they have kids who are neurotypical, kids who've been in care. Lots of different people utilize the classes where it's a group where they do social skills training. And they learn about how to make friends, how to keep friends, how to give and take criticism, and just a lot of those relational skills. So that's something that I've heard other foster parents say has been very effective with their children, being able to attend those kinds of groups.
I think another difficult part that I hear sometimes, and I know I struggle with this too, is just feeling like my foster teen should be performing at a higher standard than what they are, like emotionally and stuff like that, like emotionally and mentally. And they're just not. Like, they're not there. Like, I can remember having one foster kiddo, and they literally, it was a bad, I mean, I'll say we were in an argument, like, and it was bad. Like, it was a bad argument. Like, I was totally, they call it, you're hooked, like a fish, like they have you hooked. I was totally hooked in this argument. Like, that's where this kid wanted me. They wanted me in an argument with them, and I was totally hooked. And I realized that later, but it was too late. Like, we're arguing, and in the heat of the argument, like, this kiddo like balled up their fists, put them down by their side, and just started crying, and like had their mouth open. And right then, I didn't see a 16-year-old. I saw an 8-year-old, because that's what, like, when the kid, like a small elementary school kid, like goes into flight, fight, or freeze, like they put their, like, how they just like kind of stand there, and they're just like, ah, ah. Like, this kid was totally, that they were there, and that's when I realized I was hooked, because I was just like, all of a sudden I didn't see a 16-year-old anymore. I saw an 8-year-old that couldn't talk with me and couldn't communicate with me. All they could do is just cry, and that was their way of telling me, look, I don't like you, I'm frustrated with the situation, and that's all they could do, is handle it in an 8-year-old way. They couldn't talk with me anymore. What do you see as ways that our kids, like as foster adoptive teens, how are they acting? I guess, how do you help them with their emotions? Because they're not always acting like a teenager. How do you help with that? Or what are you seeing with teens? Like, how do they act younger than what they really are? I know one thing do you want to tell them about what's the Dr. Karen Purvis, when she was alive, out of Texas, would do the Band-Aid, the boo-boo thing?
You tell it,
okay.
because you remember stuff like that better than I do.
So Dr. Purvis out of Texas, she would actually go through and she would actually take kids. She had a game, and actually we've had Allison Douglas on here, and she has it's actually search on our YouTube channel. I think it's called the Boo Boo Game. I think she put it on there.
It's part of trust-based relational intervention, which is something that Dr. Purvis teaches as an intervention, as a methodology of parenting, foster and adoptive children.
But quite simply, is she would like just take them and she would like ask the kid if they have any hurts, and that could mean mentally, emotionally, physically. And so they would tell them, and then you'd put a Band-Aid on them, and you'd ask them things like, you know, if it's on their arm, like something safe, like do they, I don't know if she would do kisses or not. I think she would ask the child if they wanted it. But
sorry.
Yeah, but they would do that. It's just, yeah, like Margie said, it was trust-based relationship, relational stuff.
Sorry, Instagram.
Margie just totally dropped the phone for Instagram. Sorry, Instagram.
Well,
it was
I got
a Margie
phone call,
quake.
and I'm trying to make sure, like, am I still...
I
can't see to see if it's actually still working.
So anyways, the trust-based relationships, so they would do the Band-Aids. She found that it worked for teens too. Like teens actually wanted to communicate and share and that helped them relationally too, to be able to advocate for themselves, to tell where they hurt. They could say, you know, I hurt in my heart, or like and obviously they wouldn't put a Band-Aid on their chest, but they would say, you know, can I put a Band-Aid on your hand? And that represent like, and it just showed, like, it just allowed the adult to show concern and care for the child. And like, it was funny because I'm watching
them learn to accept care.
Yes. And it was funny because
a lot of kids have had to parent themselves and they don't know how to accept care.
And I was one of the people that said, there's no way a teen will do this. And then I said, well, maybe the girls will, because they had like, you know, the sparkly, like the all done up.
They could pick which Band-Aid they wanted.
Yeah. Like they had cartoon characters and like colors, and like, I'm like, well, maybe the girls will do it. But no, she had like teenage boys were like sitting around in a circle, and they were with each other, like share, like 16, 17-year-old boys that were like, you're like, there's no way this kid, like they're sitting there sharing their hurts with each other and doing like putting Band-Aids on each other, and they're totally getting into it. So that was pretty amazing to me. Like, I think that's helpful for our kids to be able to like talk about like how they hurt or why they hurt maybe, and just see, because I don't think they know that all the time, right? Like, how do you guys feel? Do you feel like your kids even know how they're hurting or what they need, even as teenagers? Like, I don't feel like they do all the time. I feel like they're kind of lost, like, and they don't know exactly what's going on. I mean, that's what I saw with this kid that was reverted to 8 years old, and she was just screaming at the top of her lungs like an 8-year-old. Like she didn't know what else to do. Like it was like she popped a circuit, and like she didn't know what else to do, so she just started crying like a small child, because that she reverted back to that age, and that's how she could get her needs taken care of. She's like hoping like mama would come and take care of everything. Or she, I mean, I guess in that instance, I guess Dr. Purvis would say she needed me to come in and be the caring parent and take care of everything, because that's what a small child would need. But I don't know, I'm done talking. What do you guys like? Totally. I think that's interesting though. Like, I think our kids don't know how to advocate for themselves, and I think it's really neat to watch it when someone shows us how to do that. Yeah. But yeah, social media is definitely a rough thing, I think, for kids. Everyone's, oh, you just refreshed us. Oh no, I can't see anyone now. But yeah, well, let's keep going. I did have one thing that I wanted to show everyone, and we're still talking about teens. I'm just waiting for people to chime in. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, please chime in with your questions or your comments, and I would love to hear what you have to say about fostering and adopting teens. One thing that I came across the other day are these cool little Disney magnetic play set, and they also have books that come in them. But there are these really cool, I'll show you, I have one that's Star Wars, and I have one that is Frozen. I also have was able to get, I got the Frozen one, and I got the one that's Minnie Mouse, Tiana, and Rapunzel off of eBay. And I forget how much they were, but they were
I paid like $3 for them.
Yeah, like bundled together, they're really. And also we have, like, when we do our movie points for Disney, this I got free for our movie points that we get with like getting Disney movies. So I didn't pay anything for this one, but this one I think I bundled like with 2 others, and it was like $3 or something like that. Yeah, I'll pause real quick. So Tim is saying for them, it's only their immaturity, not only their immaturity we have to remind ourselves about, but their behavior as well. Recently, we found out that 2 of our kids were meeting friends at the park and getting chewing tobacco and vaping. Yeah, that's
furious until we reminded ourselves of where they came from. We still needed to deal with it, but that was nothing compared to what they came from.
Good for you, by the way, for like stopping yourself and remembering it.
And remembering,
because I don't do that. I don't. I'm the worst at it.
You do. I think you do pretty good.
I think I remind myself. Like, I think when the kid's crying, I sit there and go, oh yeah, right. And then I'm like, okay. And then I back down. But I think initially I kind of go in it and I'm like, what? But yeah, we've had that incident though. Not with the tobacco and vaping, but we've had kids leaving to go meet other kids that we didn't know that they were like
lying about where they were.
Right.
Meeting up with
like the whole
people
thing.
of the opposite sex when they were supposed to just be with their same sex friends, and
like totally like movie type stuff too, where it's like, I'm gonna be over at Sue's house and her mom, and so we're like, okay, yeah, Sue's cool, go over to Sue's house, you know, she's just right down the road. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, you stick your head at the window and you're like, hey, there's Sue, where are our kids?
No, it wasn't even that. It was just like there was just little hints of like the mom sensors went off of like, I think I'm getting fed a line. And
how many of you guys have like Spidey sense, like from Spider-Man, like your Spidey, we call it like our parent sense goes off, like our dad's sense goes off or our mom's sense goes off. And we're like when we've learned over the years, like, I know it sounds crazy, but like it's like some people like are like, no, whatever. Like, it's just, you're just feeling concerned or worried or what. We're like, no, I've learned that if my gut is giving me that feeling that something's not right. And I know, like, probably 95% of the time when we have that, something's not right here. Like, we'll go looking and we're like, it's not right. Like, this is not right. So yeah, I want to know if other parents have Spidey senses. I think we should have superpower names. I think we tell it. What would your superpower name be? I think you need to think about that.
Okay.
All right, but anyways, I'll finish up with these. So yeah, these are really cool. So they were really inexpensive if you go on eBay. But the reason I like them so much is because if you open them up, first of all the pieces inside, it comes with 2 books. I don't have the books in here, but it has magnetic pieces in here. And they're like, if you're old enough, remember the old color form sets that were like the little plastic sticky things, and they were like a set that you could, and you could keep taking them off and putting them on, taking them off, and you can make little scenes with them. That's like basically the idea here, except it's in more of a book format, and it's Disney, so it has a lot more like cooler things. And so it comes in, this one is nice because it has magnets on this side and this side. So it comes with all of these backgrounds that are really cool. Like, they're double-sided.
There's more.
There are more.
There's more.
And it comes with, this one has 30 magnets. So these aren't even all the Star Wars magnets that it has. It has a ton of magnets, but I'll take forever getting all the small pieces out. That's probably the one drawback, is they're smaller pieces. But so you can just sit here and you can like make little playset things. And these are just really cool if you have like kids that are in the car.
Well, and we found that especially for young kids, the car can be very traumatic, because if you think about it, like if they've been removed from their birth family, that was a traumatic experience that involved a car ride. We've had kiddos that had experiences being lost with their birth family in a car, or people had kids that have lived in cars, or they're constantly being transported back and forth for visits in the car. So the car can be kind of traumatic, and just a stressful time for our kiddos sometimes. So
yeah, and it's definitely cool. And It can be a stressful time, but these are so much fun, and they have all their favorite Disney characters. And again, the boys, the only one I have is the Star Wars because I got that one. I scored that one for free, and I was able to get like a bunch of the girls in bundles. And again, these are like the backgrounds for like the Frozen ones, so they're really fun. And then I already have like a little deal made up here. And again, they come with like a lot of magnets, so it's a lot of fun. This one's actually, the girl ones are more like dress up, some of them. So it's kind of fun because the girls can dress up the characters and they still have fun little characters they can put everywhere. But it's fun for in the car because it's magnetic, so you can just put there, and then everything is, you just put it right back in here and then you close it up and you're done. And it snaps closed, so they can like, you know, have it and they can bang it around. And so, whoa, one just flew out as I said that. So maybe make sure you have it bundled very good up. But
closed. It wasn't
closed
all the way.
Yeah, it wasn't closed all the way. So, but you can take these to the doctor's office and different places like that, and they can actually have fun with these. And they're, like I said, they're inexpensive. They're like $3. So if they end up like, I don't know, leaving it at the doctor's office, it's not the end of the world. They start throwing the pieces, it's not the end of the world. There are smaller pieces in here, so it says not for children under 3. Use your best judgment, because we were just talking about our kids not being emotionally and mentally their age. So if you have a kid that's not going to sit there and just like, I guess, try to eat the magnetic pieces, and you know who your kid is that does that, and you know if you're a parent that needs to watch out for that. So definitely check these out, because that's another thing too, is there's nothing to do in the doctor's offices lately. Like, what is that? Like, we go to the pediatrician and we're like, really? Like, you have like, I can't even think of the magazines, but I'm like, I don't want you looking at that magazine. Like, this is a pediatrician's office? Like, where's the, and they're like, well, we got a bead table.
I don't even see those anymore.
I'm like, a bead table? My kid's like 7. Like, they don't want to play with the beads, which isn't true all the time. But yeah, definitely check these out. They're, what are they called? This one is, it's Dress Up Book and Magnetic Playset. I think I searched for Magnetic Playset, and that's how I found that. Plus, flannel graphs are still a thing. Who knew, right? And they're Disney ones too, so they're like, they're still fun. But that's my fun tool that I have for this week, because I thought those were really neat and they're a lot of fun, and I use them. I just think that they're great. They're fun. I have fun with them, if nothing else. So if you don't want to use them for your kids, use them for you. But yeah, I think we are winding down here. So if you have any more questions or comments that you want us to get to, we're also, we do this every Monday, same bat time, same bat channel. We're always on YouTube. We're always on Facebook, Mondays at 5 p.m.
Instagram and Twitter as time allows. Actually, next Monday, so everybody knows, we will be broadcasting from the car. So we will probably only have 2 phones live going. We will be in the middle of a 16-hour drive back from, we are going to an event in Texas, and we're having, distributing information and selling items to help fund Transfiguring Adoption at an event in Round Rock, Texas this weekend. So
yeah, actually, Ariana's on here. I don't know if she's still on here, but she was. She liked it, and she'll be there. So yeah, definitely tune in next week. Let us know if you have anything that you want to talk about.
Well, and keep the conversation going. You know, on all these platforms, if you can continue to comment and just support each other, it's a great way to share. And I know today we've had some former foster youth on here too. We love to hear from former foster youth adoptees, from their perspective too. Powerful than ours. So much more from adoptees and former foster youth.
Yeah, and definitely, yeah, share this. The more people that we have on here having a conversation, the more people we can help. We actually just had someone on here a couple weeks ago that was just having a real rough, major crisis and rough issue. And it was nice to have so many people on that were already talking, and they could give her advice and tell her, and just tell her to hang in there. Because I don't think that as foster and adoptive parents, we have enough of those people that are telling us that everything's okay, there's hope, that we're doing the best we can. And you guys you're doing amazing. If you're a foster adoptive parent and you're on here, you're doing an amazing job. I think you might be today thinking that you're not. You might be thinking that you're fighting an uphill battle, you're failing, and you're not. You woke up today, you got out of bed, and you're putting one foot in front of the other and doing the best you know how. So thank you so much for doing what you're doing. You have no idea the difference you're making in the child or children's lives in your home. Like, I know that sounds, I don't know you, and it just sounds cliche, I guess, that I'm saying that, but for seriously, right? Like, I can say that sincerely, that you really are making a difference. And thank you to everyone that's a supporter, like that's just supporting foster and adoptive parents watching and trying to get an idea of things, because we don't have enough people that are trying to learn the issues that we're going through and wanting to help us. So thank you so much. Please give us your comments, what topics you want to talk about. Last week, someone mentioned talking about teens, so that's why we were talking about teens this week. We would love to hear what you want to talk about. The last thing before I sign off, I will say is in May, we are going to be starting our Best Foster Parent in the Nation Award. This is going to be our second annual award, second time running the annual award. Last year, a couple in Florida won it. But beginning of May, you're going to be able to get your nominees for the Best Foster Parent in the United States into us. And in June, we will be allowing the public to vote on who they feel should win the award. And they get this really cool, actually legit award that's inscribed with their name on it and everything. And then we work with the agency to see if the agency can't do a party and an award ceremony and stuff like that.
Last time we had just little different gifts and stuff that we were able to.
It was amazing.
It was a little award package, so.
It was so awesome because it's a real way to alert the community to the foster parents in the area.
And just share something positive. Like we were talking about earlier, media tends to a lot of times draw attention to the negatives, and you hear just the horror stories and you don't hear the good that's happening. And so many of you are doing so many times and so many days you guys are doing amazing. All the time you guys are doing amazing work, and the media needs to hear more about the amazing things that foster parents are doing around the nation. So that'll be look for that at the beginning of May. We'll have the nominations up. And then beginning of June, you'll be seeing on our Facebook pages and on our website, you'll be able to start voting and having your friends vote for who you think should win the award. And that we purely run on the public voting, so the people can speak. The people can speak. Let them have cake. I don't know. We're really tired.
We are tired.
We spent too many overnight hours.
You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for all the hard work you do. We will talk to you next Monday at 5 p.m. This has been Darren Fink and Margie Fink with Transfiguring Adoption. We hope we are helping to nurture and grow your foster or adoptive families. See you later. Right, Instagram, so if you're still on there.
Since my screen is all blacked out.
I am going to sign off on Facebook. Thanks a lot, you guys. And YouTube. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone.